Yeah, we're back with this Fox News alert. We're learning more about the B-2 stealth bomber and its bunker buster bombs the U.S. would use to hit Iran's nuclear facilities.
All right, let's start, Joey, with the B-2, right? This is the only stealth bomber. It's the only plane that can carry this 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrator, or the MOP, as they call the bunker buster. And you can see just how big it is. You've got a 172-foot wingspan. And for anyone that's been to an air show and seen this, it's quite an impressive thing. Can fly up to 50,000 altitude, capable of midair refueling.
Yeah, and so you can also use a B-52, but this is the preferred aircraft because of its stealth, because this aircraft won't be seen coming.
All right, let's move here to the next thing, and that is, of course, it deploys the GBU-57 bomb. That's the bunker buster you can see here, and we're understanding that the B-2s can carry 2, possibly 3 of these.
Yeah, I want to just point out real quick why it's important to use a stealth bomber to do this. A GBU stands for Guided Bomb Unit, which means that you have majority payload, and all it has in it is it has some fins and stabilizers that can be controlled with GPS, and it's the gravity, its trajectory while it falls. It doesn't propel itself. If it had a propulsion system on it, then it would be a guided missile. And the fact that it's a guided bomb means that the B-50 or the B-2 has to get a little bit closer to its target than shooting a guided missile from 2,000 miles away. So that stealth factor is really important for this bomb. It's actually not super advanced technology. A guided bomb was that first iteration of what we now have, hypersonic guided missiles. So it's really interesting as an EOD tech, you learn the characteristics of ordnance. Another thing a guided bomb has is it doesn't have to have another 20 feet of rocket propulsion fuel. You can have a bigger payload in your bomb.
Well, and, you know, that's fascinating you raise that point, Joey. It's so important because I understand the military planners, when they're thinking about it, they start with the target.
Yeah.
Then they work backwards. So
what
let me
capabilities
just take us to how this is going to go, just to the point you were saying, the drop in the trajectory as it's got to go through not 1, but 2 layers.
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is we're being told this is, I think, anywhere from just shy of 200 to 300 feet in depth. There are all kind of reports out there of 1,000 foot, but I think that's more propaganda. So what you end up doing is if you saw the movie, the latest Top Gun movie, eerily enough, this is that plot kind of coming to fruition in real life. It's not just one bomb, it'll be a bomb after a bomb to get through that penetration.
And just lastly, that's what you're talking about, can penetrate up to 200 feet below the surface. And then, of course, we'll see it try and put the second one in there and go down in there. Yeah. Let's bring in David Burke, our Top Gun and former Top Gun instructor, retired U.S. Marine Corps officer. Now, David, I don't know how well we did that, but you know this better than anybody. Talk to us about, you know, questions over whether or not this can successfully be done.
Joey Jones just crushed that explanation. You guys hit the nail on the head, so really well done. This absolutely can be done. There is not a cave in the world deep enough to defend itself against the American military if it needs to hit it. And you described the weapon system and the aircraft and the mating of that exactly right. Now, this is a hard problem to solve, but it is absolutely a solvable problem with this system.
David, when we talk about blast radius, frag radius, the overall footprint one of these bombs can have once it gets into the ground, how precise does it have to be? In other words, if it lands 50 feet from the target, is it still effective?
Yeah, 50 feet would be a pretty big miss for a weapon like this. Just like you described, that guided bomb unit has a really precise GPS system in the nose. It's going to get within a few feet, maybe a few meters of its target and penetrate really deep. It's that penetration that's going to cause the problem. So it's going to hit the target pretty much exactly where it wants.
Yeah, and, you know, David, when you were just talking about that, I brought up another shot here, which is the approximate penetrative power, and it looks like, you know, with a 30,000 pound bomb, you want to come in at about a 45-degree angle. What can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And like you alluded to, the bomb is this is a massive piece of equipment, 30,000 pounds, but only around 5,000 to 6,000 pounds of explosive. Most of that is the casing to do that penetration at that angle. And it is all calculated through a process we call weaponeering, which is figuring out the right point, the right angle, how far deep it needs to go, and then, of course, like you described, do we put a second bomb behind that to open that initial penetration and detonate and really do the damage we need to that target?
David, if this is used, we don't use them very often. I know the Moab was used back in 2017 for the first time. Is there an example of using these in the past? Is there any precedent whatsoever?
This would be an unprecedented use of that weapon in this situation from a penetration standpoint. We know the aircraft works. We know the weapon works. We have not done this in combat, but I can guarantee you, and I think you know this, our aircraft and our pilots and the systems have been trained to and practiced
Absolutely.
for years. They're ready for this mission.
Well, and David, that was my final question in the few seconds we've got left. What's going through the minds of these pilots that may be flying these missions?
They're waiting for the word. I can promise you they are prepared. They're ready to go. They get that alert to launch, and they are completely capable of ready to go at a moment's notice. They're just ready for the execution now.
David, real quick answer. You've got the Air Force, the Navy. Who has the best fighter pilots?
The Marine Corps.
There we go. Hoorah.
There's going to be debate about that online. David Burke, thank you for taking time. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir.